Good afternoon, everybody, or wherever you are, good right time of the day to you. Immortal Mage back with another free play installment with the Ouroboros sequencer. Today I'm going to be looking a lot at patterns and scenes and sort of set myself up really quickly. I'll also be playing with the mix mode. So yeah, that's about as far as the agenda will get us. Let's see what happens in the meantime. So as always, I'm going to start by adding my instruments. Today, I'm going to keep it a little more organic by starting with a piano, and then I'm going to add some drums, and then I'm going to put in, what is this guy? Some bass. I know this guy always starts out wicked loud, so we're going to turn him down, and now I'm going to hook up everything. So drums on track 1, we'll do the bass on track 3, and the piano on track, whoops, sorry about that. I've got a really weird setup, so I'm sitting kind of crooked-headed and still getting my body in position to see and perform well while also videotaping. Okay, and Ouroboros piano on track 1, or no, track 2. Okay, so now we can go here, and track 1's drum track, and it's gonna be London. Make sure I can hear that. I can't. I don't think I'm hooked up to my headphones. Or I set this up wrong. I did. I didn't select this. Okay. There we go. Took a sec, but now we're there. And then we'll see the others. Tonal track. Good. And tonal track. There we go. So we'll go here, and so the way the tempo works is Ouroboros is connected with the host BPM, so I can go up here and change it if I want to slow it down, which we're going to do today. And now I'm just going to get a really basic drum pattern in. In fact, I'm going to do this. I'm going to slow it down half time. Conditionals to mix it up a little bit. Keep this one actually to 2. All right. In fact, I'm going to copy this one and keep it on time and get rid of that. All right. So quick drum beat, nothing fancy there. We're gonna mostly focus on the tone stuff. That's what I'm really excited about for these first few videos. We'll get more into the drums later on. I think the drums will really start to kick off on this once I add step FX and performance FX, but that'll come down in a little bit. There's still quite a bit in front of that roadmap, including MIDI and all kinds of fun things. So yeah, where were we? Oh, right. We're going to add some chords now. This time I'm going to use the chord block mode. So in the chord block mode, I have 8 blocks, and each of these blocks you can fill with any 8 notes. You can see if I hold down, the notes that are displayed, or the notes that are filled into the blocks are displayed on the left. You can press anywhere to add them. So it works out like these 7 are a part of an octave, and then above it you have the octave above it, and you can press and remove. And these 8 blocks are shared across all of the tracks. So if I go to this track and set it up in chord block mode, and then I change, say, this guy, and I remove 2 of the notes, you can see that if I go back to track 2, which is what had it set up, and I have those same 2 notes displayed there. This will also affect anywhere in the sequence that you've placed down any of these chord blocks. So it becomes a way that you can really quickly transform the entire song and the entire track by manipulating and playing with the seed, which is the chords. Okay, so we'll add something in here. And I'm gonna turn on trig legato mode, and I'm just gonna keep it simple. Okay, I like that as a start, but let's extend this so we get 2 bars. I'm going to make you play all the way to the end. Another fun thing you can do with these chord blocks is you can edit what's in the block by pressing, you know, and holding the keypad on the right, but you can just change the value of a single step by holding the trig step, and you'll see that some notes are lit white. That represents that they're included because of the block. You can add individual notes to just this step by pressing anywhere on the keypad. So I can press and, you know, assign a C to just this green block. This green block won't have that C. Remove that, and I'm gonna make you have a D. Okay, so now that I've got that set up, let's add some drums. To do my drums, I'm going to use the mix mode. I'm gonna take the chord, I'm gonna take the lowest note from track 2's chords, but I'm gonna play them in a different rhythm. So I'll go to tone mode, and I'll turn on mix. You'll see that the right side has changed to give me access to the length and velocity of my insert and my trig steps instead of the note values. This is because the mix mode doesn't care about note values. It just takes them from the track that it's watching, the source track. And this, so then I'll select a source track from down here. This is the second step that you need to fully set up mix mode. So there we go. Now you won't hear anything. I got to go down here and I've got to lay down some rhythm notes, but if I do something simple like this, okay, that's a little bug I thought I had fixed already, but I'll get that sorted out so that you can just lay down the notes immediately. It was something to do with because I hadn't pressed a key step beforehand. But anyways, let's go back and we'll lay this down. And I'll get a really fast pattern going, and you can hear the rhythm mode in effect. Then I'll double it. That's sounding pretty good. What you may have seen me do is hold down a note, and you'll see that you can show it shows the length through these white steps. If you press on any empty step, or really any step, it'll change the length to that. But if you press the last white step, then it will adjust the length to be the same as what your current step resolution is. So in this case, it's 1/16. So if I press the end step, I can quickly set this note's length to 1/16. It's just another way that you can change the length of the notes. There's all kinds to fit whatever your workflow is. But let's hear what we've got again. Or actually, no, I don't need to. I'm going to shift you down an octave. All right, so there's where we'll start with the scene. We'll say, hey, I like that. That's my first scene. I'm going to lock that in by pressing scene A. So what that does is record what tracks are playing, what's the pattern that they're playing, what's the velocity set, the velocity coming from their overall track velocity, which can be set up in these track select mode, which you can get to by pressing down here or pressing up here. And yeah, and all of that is to capture, hey, what exactly is the sound or the MIDI values coming out of this? That way I can recall them later. Okay, so now I'm going to start another scene, and in this scene I am going to, what should we do? We can continue to show off the mix mode. So I'm going to add another sound here. And I'm going to take this from, I don't know, what's a fun guy? There's so many of these gadgets. I'm trying to remember which ones I own. I think this one I have. Okay, cool. We'll use whatever comes out of this. Yeah, so normally I'd also be going in and playing with the actual sound that's coming out of the device and trying to use that to balance it, but we're just going to play with the default preset that comes out of most of these, so we can really focus on just what the sequencer is capable of. Okay, so I'm going to go back to tone. I'm going to set up my mix mode. One fun thing that you can do too is you can fishtail these. So I can select track 3, which is currently watching track 2. And so that way, if I change track 2 to watch something in the future, both track 4 and track 3 will watch it. Whereas if I just change track 3 to watch something, track 4 will follow that. So you can set up this whole chain of who watches what, and then you get this flow as you change, you know, who's the master, like who's the front runner. But we're not going to get anything too fancy with that today. And I'm just going to watch track 2, which is watch track 3, which is watching track 2. And see what comes out of here. So I'm going to start it kind of longer. Oh, see, it's that same bug again. I forgot that I had to do that. And then I go to tone and set it up. There we go. I'm glad I know what's going on. I've been messing with that one for a while. All right. Let's set this up here. And your track 4. Okay, so we'll play with the higher notes, we'll shift them up a little bit to hear them, and then I'm going to mess with that and just try to make something that I like that using the ARP. I'm gonna use the ARP step mode. So, you know, up, down, chord, they're pretty self-explanatory. It just moves up and the notes that you've put in, down, plays the whole chord so you can get a nice sequence. The step mode, it basically doesn't do any tone shifts. It ignores those, and it just directly tells, hey, which chord note should I play? And if you don't have this many chord notes, then I'll play the highest chord. So say, like I set this guy to 6, but the chord only has 3 notes that's coming into the ARP, it'll play the 3rd note. This allows you to get more literal and stay more syncopated with whatever you're feeding through it. So we're gonna do this, and I'm just gonna get playing. So I can also press here to skip a step, effectively creating a rest or a space, and then I can change the velocity of the step that's being played. So I'll do that with some of these. Okay, so I just raised it up 5 steps on top of the 2 octaves, and finally I'm going to change the mode, or I'm going to change, you know, the scale, and I'm going to do an E minor. Okay, so now we've got that set up, and I can go back to my scenes, and I'm going to show you how some of the patterning can work. So the drums are a great way to showcase this because the drums are implicitly more complex in terms of the mutes and the patterns and the scenes than the tone tracks, because you have 16 individual drum sequences. And each of these can be muted on their own. You may have seen this in the last video, so I won't cover it too much, but you know, if you're in the track select mode and you press here, you get basically the settings that are captured as part of the scene and the pattern. And if you're in a drum track, you can go here and you can focus in on just a pad. So I've set up a second pattern. I'm gonna go in I'm going to make this the faster one. And then I'm going to speed this up. And then I'm going to listen. All right. And so because this is all in pattern B and I set all of this up in pattern B, it's smart enough to understand that, and it should jump back to what we want if we go to pattern A. So you'll see that jumping back both mutes any sounds that were created after I last captured that scene. And then it also goes back and plays the specific patterns that I had and re-engages the specific mute notes that were associated, or mute settings that were associated with it. Another thing the scene will capture if you've set it up is it can capture the Prism settings for the pattern. So what Prism does is it allows you to take certain tracks, say our top track, and transform them further by adding basically like a filter layer of, this is why I call it Prism. I picture it like a crystal. You shine light through it, and then depending on how you set up the sequencer, you get different shadings that come out of it. So it's like spinning the prism. So in this case, we can, raise it up 3 for a little bit, and then we'll go up 2 for 3, sure, that'll sound weird. And then we'll go up 1 for a bit, and then we'll let it return to normal. And then you'll see if I set up a second pattern where all I do is lower it down an octave for half and then raise it. And then we'll have that go on as scene C. So then in scene B, we'll do this. All right, so now you can see how using scenes and patterns to capture the various states and create differences, not only in just what's the sequence being played, but by using mute modes, by changing what's watched and what's played and how you're using mixes, because the settings of the mix mode, I guess I didn't show this, but the settings of the mix mode are captured as part of the pattern. So if I go to pattern 2, I'm no longer in a mix mode. So I can lay down my sequences. I can hear those differences. And then when I go back to pattern 1, it'll re-pick up that it should be in mix mode, and it'll go back to the track or the source track and watch those. So a pattern in a scene doesn't just mean, hey, what's the new notes you're playing? It means, what new notes are you playing? What are your new transformation rules? What's the ARP setting? What are the mutes? What's the pattern of the final layer of transformation? So you can really go in there and just pick one of these tools and start playing with it. And especially when everything's routed together in an interesting way that takes advantage of the chords and the chord blocks and using source tracks, then you can really, really start to shake up your song with just a single menu. But okay, that's about it for today. We're hitting really late into this video. This one took a lot longer than I thought, and I didn't cover nearly as much ground. But I hope you guys found it useful. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to leave them. I accidentally uploaded the video 90 degrees the wrong direction last time. So obviously I'm still super new at this and figuring it all out. Thanks for calling me out, peeps. And feel free to call me out on anything else. I'm not prone to any criticism. I hope you all have a great day and find some creativity in this tool, and I'll see you again later.